Welcome to Dorks on Sports, podcast about four dorks talking about sports. My name is Daniel. Joining me as always is Curtis. Curtis, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Blistering Seattle summer.
Yeah, that I'm not doing quite so well with.
How are you? Because
in this little dungeon I'm in.
You work outside.
I do work outside. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you beat the heat?
By about 12:30, 1 o'clock. Last client's yard we were supposed to go to, I just texted her and just like, yeah, not gonna happen today.
I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
Hey boss, not coming in.
Yeah.
Come on, Daniel, you work from home.
I know, it's really nice. I can just like take a nap whenever I want.
Oh God, it's delightful.
And if anybody is listening from work, Kevin, if you're listening, I didn't say that. Lana, how's it going?
It's all right. Yeah, it's hot, but things are moving apace. So we leave for New York on Saturday, and we're going from like 90-degree weather in Seattle, which is like manageable barely, to 90-degree weather in New York, which is like hot trash smell.
Yeah, so like 90 in New York is not the same as 90 in Seattle.
It is not.
That's humid weather too.
I know.
That's like gross.
Our timing is just like, oh well, we fucked that up, but like, what are you gonna do? And meanwhile, y'all are gonna have 70-degree weather here. It's like perfect summer weather next week. 70 degrees, kind of cloudy.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I complain it's hot, but Seattle usually gets 3 or 4 days of 90-degree weather, and I like it. I don't mind it.
You have air conditioning?
I don't have air conditioning, but I can suffer through it. My cat yells at me, but it's fine. Millie, how's it going?
Going well. It's going just great. I missed you, dorks.
I know. I missed you too. Guess what? Well, we all get to see each other tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because we're all going to an afternoon Mariners game.
True story.
Woo! Take on the Texas Rangers. Speaking of those Mariners. So, the last time we talked, I think we were pretty down on them. They were probably about 10 games below 500 when the last pod we had. Fortunes have turned. Julio Rodriguez has turned into a superstar, a bona fide superstar. Those Mariners are playing hot. They're I don't know what their record is now, but they've got a wild card spot. Where are they at? Where are we at? 53 games? Yeah.
There's 7 games above 500 right now.
Yeah, got trashed by the Astros to beat a 14-game win streak, but the Texans is a nice palate cleanser. So hopefully we can get another streak going. And it's really fun to watch. And currently the Mariners are top of the 7th and winning 2-1. So keep that rolling, boys. They've been fun to watch.
They really have. And, one thing that I just found out about is that in this next series, because do we go to New York first or do we go back to Houston? I can't remember which.
I think we have the Astros again and then New York.
Yeah, Houston first.
Stanton just got placed on the IL for New York. And so I'm pretty sure that means that they're not gonna have him when we play him, because I think he's on the 15. So which would be rad. I mean, that would be a similar situation that we just faced with the Astros without one of our best players.
Yeah, totally.
And
I'm excited to play him again with our best player and maybe
absolutely
Haniger.
Right. For me, that the series this last weekend, I know it felt sucky to lose 3 in a row after we'd won 14 in a row. Like, that sucked. But for me, it really said a lot more about where the Astros are than about who the Mariners are. And what it said, the main thing it communicated to me was we're not just one bat away. We're like 2.5 bats and an arm away. And so for me, it just re-emphasized the let's not with Juan Soto. I get how talented he is. And if we had Haniger, or if Kelnick had been a hit, if Kelnick was in the lineup batting real well, and if Haniger was there and we were using Winker as the DH, and it's already a crowded outfield in that case. If we had one or two more homegrown players that were really just lighten it up, then I could see trading for Soto and making a run this year. But I worry that if we trade for Soto, try to make a run this year, we don't have the ammunition to do anything more than win one. Like we're probably not catching the Astros. So that means we're locked into a wild card spot. And then maybe we lose in 2 out of 3 in that wild card game. And it's not, to me, worth it to sacrifice the maybe of some of these, Noelvi Marte, George Emerson, Emerson Hancock, George Kirby, like those people. It's not worth it to me to sacrifice those quality stars for a maybe that is Juan Soto. So that's where I stand on that. It's as exciting as it would be to have 2 of the best or the 2 best Dominican-born players on our team. Like, that'd be fucking rad. I don't think it's time. I think we're 1 year. I think if this were happening next year, then I would be like, please, yes, I'm all for it. We're in a better position next year. So that's what this series against the Astros did for me.
Maybe next year we can get Ohtani.
Why would we, I guess I'm just a little confused. If we get Soto, why do you think it would only be for this year?
Oh, I'm not saying it. I was saying that if getting Soto is signaling that we're going for the World Series this year, right? Like, it's that we aren't satisfied with the building blocks, that we want more out of it. And I feel
We're doing
like
the LA
I would
Rams thing
say,
of
for
like,
me,
we're
I
doing
think
it now.
for me, getting Soto, so I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum on this. I'm for that trade. I don't particularly believe the Mariners are going to do it. If they did, I'd be super excited. I think that getting Soto means that the Mariners see a 3-year window to get to the World Series, because we would have 3 years, we would have 3 seasons, including this final stretch of this season.
3 pennant races,
to have him under club control and a chance to, work out a long-term deal with him, even though, Scott Boras is his agent and he always pushes his superstar athletes to get to free agency. But there's a chance, he comes out here, he loves it here, he loves playing with Julio, he loves that pitching staff, and he loves the excitement that the Mariners generate in this town, which they haven't done for like 20 years. And it could work out. But I would look at it as a 3-year window. I would look at it as I would look at it as trading probably 3 to 4 prospects, probably their top ones in the farm system, to get a guy who is who's a proven bat, who's I admit I haven't watched a ton of this guy at all, but every time I turn on sports radio, I hear generational talent. He's being compared to like Ted Williams and stuff, and I'm just thinking like, wow, we can get a generational talent and then pair him with somebody who looks like he's on the trajectory of potentially being a generational talent. We all feel confident about that. To me, it seems like it would be a move that would be really exciting to do. And there's, while we can all be sort of confident of the Mariners making the postseason this year, there is sort of been kind of a yo-yoing kind of effect with this team throughout this season thus far. So, baseball's a streaky sport, and you can get hot and then you can also get cold. And it would just be, to me, if they didn't make the postseason this year and the Yankees ended up being the team that grabs Soto, that's going to be a tough pill to swallow, I think, for a lot of Mariner fans. So I just go do it.
I am with you. I don't think they'll do it.
Mhm.
But as much as I was originally a little worried about messing with chemistry and this team that just really gets along and likes each other, I'm on board with the trade for Soto. I think we can give up some prospects. I think we can even give up Kirby. I think it's I think it's a good trade if we can make it happen. I'm all for it. And I'm going to change the topic real quick because we're keeping this quick, and just say that one of the things that made me so excited tonight was that Julio is back, and there's no question. First at bat, home run. Did you miss me? I swear, I'm a kid. I had my wrist. It was a little sore. It was maybe I played a little harder than I should have while I was in this once in a lifetime experience. But I'm back. I'm back. I'm here, and I'm still great.
I loved it. He hit the, one up, and he hits the home run, and he's running the bases, and he kind of even can't believe it. He's doing this shrug of I don't know.
So cute. I keep showing him to my mom and my wife, and I'm like, look how cute he is.
And I think France just hit a homer.
Raleigh did.
Or was it Raleigh?
According to my
it is Raleigh. Yeah, it is Raleigh.
Oh,
God, but speaking of, he's been hitting really.
Yeah.
Raleigh has turned into the
What
player we were hoping
was.
Kelenic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
And I like him more than I like Kelenic. Kelenic's a little too wearing this thing around his neck, and just it's okay, drop the intensity. Whereas Cal's just a big old beefcake. And I'm just yeah, run them bases, beefcake. I want to see you get that inside the park home run again.
Oh, well, as much as I love talking about the Mariners, we made a promise.
Mm-hmm.
And that promise was we were going to have one full episode of nothing but dorking. So I know there's a lot happening. We got the Mariners, and they're doing great. And we have the Kraken making moves, and the Storm is ending their season, and the Seahawks are starting summer camp. But I want to talk some TV. First up, I think I can say this with confidence. I think there are two TV shows that are near and dear to these dorks' hearts, and that's Ted Lasso and Only Murders in the Building. And Only Murders in the Building has started their second season. We're about 6 episodes in now. The sixth one just dropped, something like that. I have to say, I was a little concerned going into the second season. I felt like they really captured that lightning in a bottle in that first season. I didn't know what more they could say. And I was kind of afraid of that, these characters are going to turn into caricatures of themselves, and it's just going to be more of the same. And that is not what I'm seeing at all in this second season. I think they've deepened the characters. They've deepened the relationships. The mystery is newer and fresh. And I'm having a good time. Alana, what are your thoughts?
I think that when you doubt Steve Martin, you are quickly reminded not to doubt him. I think
yes.
One thing that we say a lot in my household is, I'm so glad he didn't get Me Too. He's of that generation, right?
Yes.
But his comedy is warm. His comedy is smart as shit. And his comedy doesn't hurt people.
I was just going to say.
Yeah, and I recognize that that's not necessarily a guideline that we need to use for every comedian. But when you have comedians that punch down at communities that they're not a part of, Dave Chappelle, and use that as a rallying cry to create this argument about free speech and shit where you're on the wrong side of things. But then to compare that to someone like Steve Martin, who is making a brilliant, heartfelt, intelligent, warm comedy, and using that comedy to showcase the talents of somebody we didn't know who could do it. We didn't know that Selena Gomez could come into a world like this and stand up to Steve Martin and Martin Short. Yeah, and who've been best friends for 40 years, who speak the same comedic language. And to come in and just be this fucking firecracker of a character who is so hard to read and so dry. And now in this second season, we're exploring a relationship with her and the Cara, I can't pronounce her last name. I can't remember her last name, but she's the gallery owner. And
Alice.
just, yeah. Like that, it's just so smart, and I like it so much.
I do too. The relationship I love most is one of the things that I think is hard to pull off, which is bringing in, somebody new who was close to one of the main characters, and I'm talking about the woman who plays Steve Martin's daughter.
Yep.
And
Daughter.
Stepdaughter, or not even. But being able to like bring her in right away, and it felt like she's been there the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I just love everything about that relationship, particularly between Steve Martin and her. But she's also just like a fantastic actor,
Mm-hmm.
and they're giving her lots of stuff to do. I don't know. I'm just smitten with this season. Curtis, what are your thoughts?
I'm enjoying it. I think it's a good follow-up to the first season. It's not quite, for some reason, I don't know if it's just me or if it's the show, but it doesn't feel as quite as riotous as the first one with the humor. Like, it's not as laugh out loud for me, but it's also kind of like, I think it's more maybe like introspective with the three characters going through their own shit. And I'm cool with it. I'm on board, and I'm, it's, yeah, I am. The stuff in particular with the relationship with Martin Short and his son, and the reveals that have recently happened have been like a little bit triggery for me as an audience member, and I've been kind of like, oh fuck, why are they doing that? But then it sort of, to me, it opens the door to, a very interesting question of what does it mean to be a father?
Mm-hmm.
What is being a father really?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I think, I was able to sort of rally around back into it and go like, oh, this is actually pretty cool.
The fact that they're doing it with both Steve Martin and Martin Short for
that
characters.
Is interesting. Yeah,
because like he sees himself as a father to this girl that he was around for like a year and a half, maybe. And then whereas Martin Short like raised this kid, but paternity dictates something else. Like, that's a really great analysis there, Curtis.
Well, and it goes even further with the daddy issues this season, which seems to be the underlying current to me, because additionally, we're also learning about Steve Martin's father, who's in the painting, Mr.
Sure.
Savage. And then, have you all watched today's episode yet?
Not yet.
How did you watch it? They released it at 9.
They released it last night at 9.
No. Episodes. I think I watched the latest one. It was 6, right? Yeah. I watched it.
It came out.
What are you gonna say about it?
Oh, just and it's not. I don't think it's a big deal. But they also Mabel's father is brought up. And Alice tries to get Mabel to talk about her father, and she basically, declines.
I could have been watching it last night. God damn it. I watched Big Mouth. So
I watched it today. But her father is also being brought up. So it's far reaching. And even Bunny, it's a stretch, but as a parent, there's just a lot of parenthood stuff going on, right? Bunny doesn't have children, but she has this waiter, and our HOA president is very, very pregnant. There's just a lot going on with children and parents, but specifically the father issues. I'm enjoying the heck out of the season. I think they're finding ways to expand upon characters from season 1 I didn't expect to even see again, which I found really clever. Like, I didn't think Jan was going to be a main character in season 2, but here she is, and it works. And of course, we've got all of our building people, but Jane Watts herself as Brazos's stand-in. Like these people don't go away. So
I
you
also
know.
like Amy Schumer taking over for Sting.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm sure she'll be back again. I'm guessing
Yeah.
around next episode we'll see her again.
She was
I'm
great.
kind of
Oh,
hoping
in that
this will be a
elevator
running
scene. Oh
joke
my God.
that suite every season is just taken over by another
A different
doing
celebrity
a
playing
cameo.
themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Shirley MacLaine was fucking phenomenal.
She was
Mhm.
phenomenal.
It was like, oh my God, you are just a queen. Like, you show up, you do like 6 scenes and you nail every line. Like, it was great.
She was
Yeah.
wonderful.
She
Yeah,
was fantastic.
I'd almost forgotten about that already. I expect her to come back as well. There's
Mhm.
so much though, and I'm concerned. I'm like, wait, how many episodes do we get? Because there are a lot of open doors right now
Mhm.
in the building.
Mhm.
And of course, now we've brought back in only murderers in the building with the most recent episode, which I'm not going to talk about too much since Alana hasn't seen it yet.
Mm,
But you know, our friends from the rival podcast are back
Yeah.
as well.
The Tina
Nice.
Fey and her clones.
Yes.
One of those clones is Steve Martin's actual wife. I don't know if you knew that. That
I didn't.
It's
That's
fun.
amazing.
yeah,
mm.
I love that.
yeah.
One of the other things that I've been enjoying in this season is that they're allowing Steve Martin and Martin Short, who were both very comedic characters in the first season, and allowing them moments of competence in this second season. And I think that's very cool. You know, particularly in the last week's episode where we learned that Martin Short's character is actually maybe really good at, you know, sussing people out and perception and all of that. And we see Steve Martin's character who can have a cool head and talk people through issues and calm them down and be a good parent and father. And I think that's all. I think that's I like that a lot. I like that they're doing that and not just making it a one-note comedy.
Mhm. One other cool thing that I wanted to just mention is the guy who played Teddy Demas's son, the deaf character.
Yeah.
He is in real life, he's a stage actor, and he was actually a carpenter for a theater company in Maryland, and he pushed the artistic director to do a production of The Music Man that featured deaf cast members, and eventually became the Henry Hill. Is it Henry Hill?
Henry Hill.
Henry Hill, yeah. He was performing Henry Hill, and just the idea of a deaf Henry Hill performing is so magical to me, because so much of that show is like, I'm going to teach these people how to run their own band. You know,
And if they're deaf, yeah.
And if they're deaf, it's like, how the fuck do you know it's being played? You know, and just like, and they went and fully did it and adapted it and have the hearing population on stage. They have the deaf population on stage. Each actor who's deaf has their own translator, but they don't sing every scene. So like sometimes they do a song entirely in sign, and sometimes they do a song not in sign and it's sung. And it just sounded, I don't know how this popped up on my YouTube, but it just was awesome to see. And then the whole thing was like, and he was recently had a guest role on Only Murders in the Building. And I was like, that's where I recognize him from. I thought it was cool.
Just learned about that last week, and I had no idea that it was that actor. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's very cool.
James Caverly or Caverly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've got my little cast list cheat sheet over here.
Well done.
On my other screen. Thanks so much. I was going to say too, yeah, the growth that they're allowing, especially our older gentlemen, to be a little more three-dimensional is nice this season, because especially Oliver Martin Short, you know, he for me, everybody has their, you know, it's usually there's Steve Martin or Martin Short that you have a harder time with. And I think when we talked about this show a year ago, I was really enjoying Martin Short, because every time he got to that close to the edge of where I stop enjoying his comedy, he reined himself back in. And I was like, yeah, you did it. You finally did it. And now this season, there's this growth in him that really has come from the friendship
Mhm.
of these other two people, which has then allowed him to move forward with his son and rediscovering that relationship. And it's all very believable. And you're right, Steve Martin, I hadn't quite realized, is not quite so over the top reactionary to every emotional stimulus, which was one of his things in season 1. You know, he just couldn't handle anything. And he didn't want to. He wanted to be a recluse in his room, and they pulled him out. And now he's pulled out further. He's in this, you know, in the reboot of Brazos, which is just wonderful.
That
Those little
scene,
nuggets.
that scene in the last episode where they're shooting that was vintage Steve Martin.
Mm.
Pants.
Yeah.
Like,
Soup!
that was like, I had to watch it like 3 times over, and I couldn't decide like if that was. It felt like it was so intentionally stupid. It was just brilliant. Like
Yeah.
it was like there was, and that's Steve Martin.
I mean, that's a
That
hallmark
is
of
Steve
Steve
Martin.
Martin comedy.
That is-
Yeah.
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 And then we
It's-
get Nathan Lane in the elevator.
Yeah, exactly.
It's wonderful that we are getting the opportunity in this show that doesn't always happen, of getting to see older characters grow and change and be
Totally.
impacted by the people around them. The classic older character in a show is, I'm just Wayne, stay
I'm
off
a
my
cool
lawn,
man.
and that's who I am. And we don't get to see the development. And what's magical about TV is that it can take feedback from the audience. It can have a conversation with the audience, and we can see and allow characters to develop. But for whatever reason, when you're watching like CSI Dixieland, the characters don't change. The old people are just the old people, and their character is identical. But sometimes the younger characters will change. They'll grow up, they'll get married, they'll have a kid or whatever. But old people are just cemented, and like these characters are so alive because they allow them to grow and be impacted by that stimulus.
Yeah. I also like the dynamic of, Selena Gomez has always been the younger, cooler, hipper one of the trio. And then Steve Martin's daughter comes in, and now she's like the weird and old and uncool. I love that.
That was a great scene.
Yeah.
That was a
Anyway,
good
that's
scene.
stuff. Anyway, I'm looking forward to where this season goes, and I hope there's going to be more.
See, it has been renewed for season 3.
Oh, excellent! That's good news. Yeah.
Have
Good.
any of you watched the little like sideshow that
Yeah, I
goes along
hated
with
it.
it on Hulu?
Mm-mm.
Like one question, only one question or whatever. Yeah, it's meh. But what fascinated me with it is the fact that Elliot Gould is apparently a super fan of the show.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why he's on so far at least 2 of those little sideshow
Funny.
things. He's a super fan. He absolutely loves the show.
That's
And
awesome.
I forgot her name. Their super fan is who hosts it.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot the actress's name.
She won a Tony for best actress in a musical, and she's in a wheelchair.
Yeah, and that the fact that she is the person that they've chosen to host this show, I think is also pretty great representation wise.
Mm-hmm.
That they have her character and then that she's hosting this other show. I just think that's cool. It's another thing with this show that works hard to find ways to feature people who would not normally be featured.
Yeah.
Ali Stroker is her name.
Yes, thank you. Just
Mhm.
going through my cast list. I'm like, very ashamed.
That's great. Moving on, the other show that the 4 of us watched back to front is the newest season of The Boys. Was it the third season?
Third
Fourth
season.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we got the 3rd season, The Boys. The Boys, made its reputation on being over the top and violent, and it delivered all of that and more in the 3rd season. And for my money, even though it felt like maybe it was more than they've given us in other seasons. It worked for me, and there was honesty in it, as at least within the tone and the world of this TV show, that grounded it for me. And you know, there was no better representation of that than in the first episode, I think, when they're trying to capture the guy Ant-Man, basically.
Yeah.
The roach, I can't remember what the guy is, the roach or the beetle or whoever he was, but there was also a lot in that season that I thought we haven't seen from other seasons, which is a sincerity and an actual like bonding in relationships, particularly with Butcher, who is processing his own trauma through his relationship with Huey and MM and, you know, the other people and the boys. I thought it was a really fantastic season. I thought Jensen Ackles was a superior choice to play Soldier Boy. And then the whole subplot with Homelander kind of becoming Donald Trump.
Who didn't see that coming?
Both funny and
the alt-right didn't see that coming.
Yeah, who didn't see that coming? The alt-right. Oh yeah, those guys.
They were all like, wait, Homelander, wait, he's the villain? Wait.
Yeah, the guy that lasered down the plane of innocent children and people and stuff is bad. We just thought he was a strong man.
There's no better representation of that than like you in the TV show. It shows these, you know, privileged white guys who feel like they're being persecuted and find themselves in Homelander. And then in reality, we're having the exact same thing happen. I don't know how I feel about that.
It's brilliant satire.
So
that's the way I see
it's
it.
Funny,
I just
it's
think it's great satire.
It's terrific satire.
Yeah.
And speaking of satire, I think my favorite scene in the entire series was when A-Train is now on his social justice kick, but it's social justice
on his terms.
You know, as of a Fortune 500 company taking over. And it's the whole spoof of the Kylie Jenner Pepsi commercial.
Yes.
So first of all, I have to say, I didn't know it was a spoof of a Kylie. I didn't know Kylie Jenner had done this Pepsi commercial. And so they had this thing and he joins this protest. That's not protesting anything. It's like all the signs they're holding are like peace and love and, you know, give everybody a chance. And, you know, and he separates the cops and the rioters, and, you know, we have to listen to everybody. And I thought it was just brilliant. I was like, this looks like a Pepsi commercial. This is absolutely something a corporation would do, and, you know, just steal the ideas of social justice and everything. And then I saw that it was a spoof of a commercial, and
almost shot for shot.
It's like shot for shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. I thought it was, I just thought it was brilliant.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, one of the things about this season, I found this season to be a little bit disappointing on some ends. Like I thought Herogasm was really hyped up and it didn't land for me. I mean, that giant penis was rad. It was fun, but it was to what end? I thought the fact that I heard before the season,
end to it.
Right. The fact that before the season, I heard that there was a musical. It was an episode when what they meant was a musical number. Like that for me made that episode fall flat, because I was waiting the whole episode for like it to be a musical, and I was like, what a great way to kind of engage with this story. I thought that, but on the other hand, I thought Jensen Ackles was fantastic. I thought the storyline that they explored with MM, it's like more, please, just more. Mm-hmm. And my favorite characters since season 1 have been Frenchie and I forgot her name. The silent,
Miko.
Thank you, Kimiko. Yeah, like those have been my favorite characters since like episode. As soon as we met them, they've been my favorites. And so the fact that they got more screen time, and then or the screen time that they got was focused on them, really made me happy. So like seeing the story of like I believe he's Algerian, of an Algerian Frenchman on an American screen and telling his story, coupled with a Japanese woman and her story, and then MM's story of a OCD black man in this kind of world that is really close to reality, but it's heightened by superheroes. Like that's what I want out of this show. Like that's where the heart can come from, and I'm more than happy for the heart to come from there.
Yep.
And so it was really good in that regard.
That's one of my.
What did you? Oh, go ahead, Millie. Go ahead.
One of my things that I really liked that was sort of one of these smaller plots was with his daughter and the stepfather. The stepfather being this like diehard Homelander fan and trying to like, and again, a lot of this, of course, is this social commentary, but he's trying to bury it. He's trying to like leave room for this person to like this thing that he knows is horrible, but he can't, like, he's not going to engage for the sake of his family. He's not going to engage with this man over what he likes and what he believes in until it is no longer palpable. And that whole plot line carried through at least half the season and into the final episode. And I really appreciated that one. To me, was a little more subtle in its moments, and then the fact that by the time we get to the end, I mean, this man is radicalized, right? He's one of these people who is in the crowd ready to cheer when you murder someone in broad daylight, right? I mean, I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue.
I was wondering if that took place on Fifth Avenue, and I mean, they film it in Toronto, but there are moments where they went that far with the level of detail and reference.
But when we get, and that's that guy, right? He's the guy at the rally. And the fact that it does get to the point where finally his wife is like, wait, like, okay, now we've definitely hit this place where we can no longer pretend like it's okay that you have these beliefs and that you're becoming basically a radicalized person. This plot line is a slow burn, and then I really, really appreciated that one for sure. And those I think Frenchie is one of my favorites as well. And I had heard about the musical episode, or at least that there were these like musical numbers and that she was going to communicate through song. We'd been getting teasers about that with her love of music. And there'd been that one scene where she walked in with a woman playing piano. And then we finally get the number, which I had also seen some hype about. And like, I wish I just hadn't known. I think I would have appreciated it, because with Herogasm, I didn't know anything. I hadn't heard anything about it. I wasn't sure what it was. I wasn't sure what to expect. So I didn't have any expectations. So there wasn't really a lot for me to be disappointed about. I mean, you can only do so much in a short amount of time and tell the story you're supposed to tell. But that's a hard thing, I think, for any popular show. You hype it up, but by revealing things and putting all of this clickbait out there and shoving about episodes that we might not want to, because then it tends to be disappointment.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of that, especially stuff about Herogasm and are things that are pulled from the comic series, and it feels like they're being teased for the fans who read the comics, and it's like I don't care about that. you know what I mean? Like I leave that out of the promotion and stuff like that. And even Herogasm, I think they felt a need to put that in there because that was one of the things that the comic was famous for. And I don't know if it was necessary for the TV show. I think the TV show is superior in every way from the comic series. And I wish it would find some confidence in just saying we're stepping away from that source material, which they have in major ways, but just make that break, just make it away from it.
Mhm.
I mean, the
don't
MCU
feel the
has
need-
done a great job of not, of breaking away from, from the
Totally.
comics and, hitting on certain touchstones, but not like, and even in that, like changing it up and making it like a different thing. Because really, I mean, if it's like, I didn't even know there was a comic book series to this until I started binging this, and I started talking to my friend Ray, and he was just like, oh yeah, I was reading all this stuff like, 15, 20 years ago or whatever. And so we'd have a lot of conversations, but I was sort of thinking to myself, like, God, I'm glad I didn't know about that, because I love the whole twists and turns of this. And the thing that I really love about this show, for me, aside from the fact that I think it's really spectacular satire, which is one of my favorite genres, I just love how messy it is with all these characters. Like once you start thinking somebody's this, then they do something and you're just like, oh, like even with Homelander, and Homelander is by far in a way like the worst
Despicable.
person to have like immense superpowers beyond what anybody else has. But then he has that one scene with his kid, and you could see how much he loves his kid, and he understands what his kid is doing for, and in that moment he's being a father, and is saying the things that Ryan needs to hear from him, even though it's fucked up, even though it's bad for humanity. You see this thing, and I'm just so challenged as an audience member, and I'm challenged by like everything. Like I don't love gore porn, and I'm not one to really enjoy watching like a 30-foot dick going all around the house and all of this sort of stuff. Like it's just not interesting to me. It's kind of gross, and I don't like feeling gross, but yet the storylines are so fucking good that I can power through all that nasty shit because the satire and like the conflicts and just like the different levels of these characters. On one hand, I feel like, like, God, I really love Butcher. And then he does something, I'm just like, God, I fucking hate Butcher.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like,
So
I love that. I've been through all 3 of the seasons.
I love what the TV show has done with Homelander, which is given us, like, shown us a reason why Homelander is the way he is, at the same time not apologizing for him.
Right.
And so they can say Homelander is this crazy sociopath because of the way he was brought up in a test lab without any sort of parental bond, but that doesn't excuse his behavior. And then, showing glimpses of, pathos with him in vulnerability. He has that scene with Soldier Boy, he learns is his father, and he just wants him to say, I love you. Like that's all Homelander wants. I think that's I just think that's really, really great writing. The other thing that I think for me in the whole season, the thing that put the bow on the season was the relationship within the boys, the group that Butcher assembles, and how it fractures because of how Butcher's relating to each one of them. What you learn is is stemming from his own trauma and how he feels he failed his brother and the abuse that he took from his own father, and that he's kind of he's seeing that in his life as he works through this mission of, you know, bringing down Homelander, and it just keeps triggering him, and he thinks he's doing the right thing of pushing everybody away. I was worried. I have read the comic books, and if in the comic books, Butcher ends up becoming the villain of his own story, and I was worried that, and I thought that was a bad way to end the comic book series, and I was worried that the TV show was going to start to go there, and I was like, no, you were making Butcher like, you know, this really like great complicated character, and I was happy that at the end Butcher reconciles with the boys, and he allows and Huey and Frenchie to bring him back. I thought that was a really nice way to end it. You know, him coming in and just looking over these people that he loves. I thought that was a nice thing that they did.
I also want to say the Black Noir cartoon storyline. The doll so
good.
Just more. But we won't get any more. That. But it was so good.
It was so good. I'm a little sad that Black Noir was written out. I wanted to know, he was always a cipher in the TV show, and then we started getting inside his head, and I thought it was so fascinating. And then working through like the traumas that he experienced when he was part of Payback, and all of that, and that was a legitimate shock to me when you know, Homelander actually killed him, and I was a little sad. I liked where that was going, but yeah.
So my favorite little nugget in it, mostly because, as I've shared with you all, I love Supernatural. Like I own many seasons on DVD. I've seen some of those seasons more times than I should admit to. Like, love that show with the burning happiness. And it was created by Eric Kripke, who of course is who's brought us The Boys. And there have been little Easter eggs for fans of Supernatural from Eric throughout. But of course, then he brings in Jensen Ackles, who is his lead in Supernatural. And so there was a lot of, you know, what else are you going to bring in anyone else? Are you going to do anything else? And just real quietly, Jim Beaver shows up. And Jim Beaver is our he's our politician.
Robert Singer, right?
Yeah. And so he plays Robert Singer in the show. Now on Supernatural, he also played Bobby Singer in Supernatural, which is the name of one of the directors and producers of Supernatural in real life. So the name Robert or Bobby Singer is a Easter egg for Eric Kripke. So to actually have Jim Beaver play the role again in this show just warmed my fangirl heart.
Nice.
That's awesome. Also, shout out to Jensen Ackles for cutting a really good cover of Blondie's Rapture on Soul.
Oh my God.
So good.
That was
legitimately
hot.
Good.
Yeah.
There was an interview where he was talking about what is it, Anthony Starr that plays Homelander?
Yeah.
And just how he absolutely like freaked him out on set. And that the milk thing, like that was his line, was the milk thing. Like he just could not handle Homelander, the milk, but
the way he puts his tongue in the milk before he drinks the milk.
Good stuff.
It's just such a bold show.
It really is.
It's like, it's so brave.
Yeah. Shall we open it up? What are we going to talk about, Lana? What do you want to talk about?
I was just thinking it would be really fun for us to kind of share our personal, like, we just shared a bunch of stuff about the two shows that we watched together, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And now, like, I would love to just share rapid fire some of the other things I'm watching or listening to or whatever. And I'm happy to go quick, go first, and get out of the way.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Cool. So the first one is my picture, which is The Bear. The Bear
Great
is
show.
the best, for me, the best show of the year so far.
Agreed.
It's about a Michelin star chef who takes over a kitchen in Chicago that cooks Italian beef sandwiches. And it's about what happens in the kitchen. I can confirm, having worked in a lot of kitchens, that it is verisimilitude throughout. I've experienced a lot of the things that happen in the show. Some of the things I haven't because I didn't get that high up, but I did work for like a 5-star fine dining steakhouse when I was in college for 3 years. And I worked on the line. So I like, it's legit. Not entirely, but really close. Wonderful show. I also wanted to call out What We Do in the Shadows, which is
So
like,
good.
for as smart as Only Murders in the Building is, it is equally stupid. But
It's so good.
it's so smart in its stupidity. It's wonderful. I love it. I want to call out For All Mankind, which is in the midst of its 3rd season, and the storyline is really picked up at this point in time. And it's an alternative history examination of what would have happened to NASA and the space program if Russia had landed on the moon first. And I've talked about it a little bit here before, but it's great. I love Loot, which is the show that's on Apple. That's Maya Rudolph, Michaela J. Rodriguez, Joel Kim Booster, Ron Funches, and Nat Faxon, about a Mackenzie Scott type, Jeff Bezos's ex-wife, who starts working in the foundation that she started that she didn't realize she had, and has $87 billion to work with to give away. And it's really warm and it's fun and it feels like it should be on NBC, but it's really good. I wanted to call out The Big Hit, which is a podcast that's on, you can find it on Spotify, and they do a deep dive of something that was a culturally redefining hit. So the first season is about Twilight. The second season is about Kendrick Lamar's Pimp a Butterfly, and the third season is about the movie Fight Club. And maybe including the book. I'm not sure for the first two. I'm listening to the Pimp a Butterfly season, and it's wonderful. I just love it, and I'm gonna finish it post haste probably. And then the last thing I wanted to call out is Blown Away, which is a glass blowing competition show in the mold of the Great Pottery Throwdown or Work of Art or Top Chef or whatever. It's only half an hour. You get to learn a lot about glass blowing. Seattle is like the big city capital of glass blowing in the north, or in the on the continent. There's a big glass blowing school called Pilchuck that's in Stanwood. And this season, we've watched all the seasons. This season, our favorite competitor is a non-binary trans person named Grace, and they are operating at a conceptual level that is just so far beyond the other participants. They did this last episode that we watched. They did 7 Deadly Sins, and they chose to represent their 7 deadly sin of gluttony with a conceptual creation that references ASMR and mukbangs, which is like the definition of gluttony. And it was bright, colorful, had so much meaning, that was so beyond the guest judge and the judges that they looked at it and were like, I don't know what I'm looking at here, but they did understand it after having a little bit of explanation. And they're just operating from this whole other level, and I love watching it. So Yeah, that's my stuff. I'll shut up now.
Curtis, what are you darking out about?
Oh God. Well, binging through 2 seasons of The Boys to get caught up to be able to get through the third season just opened up this portal, this sort of hellmouth. After my son was born in the summer of 2018, my whole life has been about Disney Plus. And just kind of lighthearted, escapist, whatever type stuff. But after all the gore and gross out humor and everything of it, like I'm watching Bigfoot documentaries. I'm watching this UFO documentary stuff. I just something came up in my news feed about how they found fossils in Loch Ness that now make it plausible that the Loch Ness monster was of existence. This is new news. And on top of that, I've been watching on Prime, documentaries on Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, Black Sabbath's seminal Paranoid album. And I binge watched the Pam and Tommy Lee show on Hulu because I fired up the Hulu. And enjoyed that a lot more than I thought I was going to. I was curious to watch it because it was that whole storyline was such a staple of my past when I was in college back in the 90s. And when all that news was unfolding and stuff, we would have long discussions about it in the drama department. Sort of thinking, all of us collectively with our faculty teachers, that someday somebody is going to make a wicked ass movie or a show about this story, and someone did. So it was kind of cool to watch that unfold. And I'm not one to watch a whole ton of different shows, so I don't really get up on the whole Emmy sort of nods and stuff like that. To me, it's all just sort of like a popularity contest. But I will say that watching Lily James play Pamela Anderson, I swear there were times where I thought I was just watching Pamela Anderson. Wow. The way it would have been so easy to make her a character. And she found she just hit all the marks and then some. And I don't know what kind of makeup they put her in, but it just seemed like I was watching Pamela Anderson through it. So interesting story. A lot of the show, the miniseries, is really kind of through her perspective more than anybody else's. And it was interesting to watch that. And it made me sort of think about my own, takes on the matter back in the day. I always thought they intentionally put that tape out there to boost their careers, and it was actually quite the opposite. That was a very private thing that was stolen from their household, and it pretty much and it tanked her career that was ascending. And yeah, it was just for anybody who's curious about that show, and if anybody wants to be nostalgic about 90s music and all that sort of stuff, it's worth the watch.
Nice.
I enjoyed it. That's all I got.
Winter Soldier is Tommy Lee.
Sebastian Stan is really solid in it. I don't have the same connection that Curtis does with it.
Yeah, I kind of feel it's as I was watching this, I was just there's probably a lot of people that aren't going to connect with this sort of thing, but this is something that I always sort of gauge whether I think a show is worth watching is if I have to get to the next episode, and I have to and that was one in kind of The Boys, where I felt okay, I'm gonna binge this shit out of this. And That
And
made
my boss, who's approximately the same age as you, Curtis, she loved it too for the exact same reason, because she had that like I think that storyline hit me when I was probably 12 to 15, sometime in there.
Yeah.
Was it wait, what year did it, was it like 96, 98?
95 when it was
95. So I would have been
but it really blew up in 96 when it became sort of
so I
like,
would have been 14, 15. So my context around it was really different. So
Millie, what are you dorking out about?
Oh, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think where I want to start. I do want to give a big shout out to Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
Oh, so good.
Just exceeded all expectations. I got the hubs to watch it. He's not always, ready to jump in on the Star Treks. He enjoys them, but he certainly didn't go on the Discovery track with me. But it was
so I haven't finished it yet. I've been watching it with my parents. I grew up on Star Trek. My parents were both like big Trekkies, and so I go home and have dinner and watch Star Trek Strange New Worlds with them. And I just watched the episode Spock Amok with Spock's hijinks, and I just thought it was delightful.
Yeah, as the whole series is fantastic. It's really nice to sort of revisit the original series as far as where it existed in the canon of the timeline that is the Star Trek universe, with a modern lens that understands, the ideas of diversity and what the future might look like, as opposed to how we imagined a future in 1950.
And gender relations.
Yes, exactly. There are all kinds of people and aliens and relationships, and they are all valid and explored. And the Captain Pike is just a delight. And they first introduced him. They first introduced him in the Discovery series in the I think it's the second season where we meet Pike. And I was concerned actually, because Devin hadn't watched Discovery. I was wondering how easy it was for someone who didn't see Discovery to jump into Strange New Worlds. And honestly, like, no big deal. A big piece of it is that in Discovery, Pike sees his future, and his future is locked and he can't escape it. And so he knows he's going to die. He knows how he's going to die. And a lot of the plot has to do with him coming to terms, can you change your destiny? And
what does it mean if you can't? What does it mean that you're going to die in 10 years?
Yeah.
How are you going to live your life? Yeah.
So what do you do at that time?
Yeah.
And then there is the idea of the enhanced individuals, which is I didn't bring up my cast list for this one.
Noonien Singh and
but is
Una.
It's not Rebecca Romaine, is it?
Rebecca Romaine is number one. Una.
Yeah, okay. So Rebecca Romaine is a child of Khan, right? So she's a superhuman, but you're not supposed to be in Starfleet. So she has this grand secret. Everybody has secrets, and some of these people we do know, like Spock. And so there's all these nuggets to hang on to if you are a Star Trek person who knows all these characters and really knows this time period. But it's also appealing to people who don't have, who aren't diehard Trekkies, because it's just good storytelling, and great effects. And it brings back some of the fun and humor that you had in the original series, and to some extent in Next Generation, that I think is missing from some of the other Star Trek worlds, because things are always so freaking serious and everything is, the end of the world. This gets a little more lighthearted. And their final episode in season 1 is this really, really brilliant storytelling, in that they take the actual episode of Star Trek, the original series, where Kirk would have normally met the Romulans, and instead it's Pike, and how much that would change everything that happens if it's Pike and not Kirk that makes that contact. There is a segment of that show that is almost shot for shot, not just line for line, but shot for shot how the original series was done. You can actually go online and see, like, you know, side by side playback, and those homages are just really cool to the diehard Trekkies, while the storytelling doesn't require it. And I have a lot of, I just admire that a lot, because again, some of the other things they've done, like, I like Picard, but it's heavy and it's, you have to know who all these people are, or it really doesn't make sense. So it's nice to have a series that doesn't require all that knowledge, right?
I agree. I think the what makes, for my money, Strange New Worlds is the best Trek of the modern Star Trek shows. And I think getting back to its formula of being an episodic TV show, and not doing, you know, like those season-long arcs. I think that's Star Trek. And I think that brings a lot of that joy back. And, you know, Star Trek likes to tell a lot of stories. And like you said, like in Picard and Discovery and stuff like that, it feels like, you know, they're just telling this one long story, but Star Trek really likes these sort of, like, you know, it's almost like sci-fi short stories. I think it's really great. I also like getting back, Millie, where you said there's like those little Easter eggs and stuff like that in the episode I watched, Spock and Muck. Spock has a nightmare of he's fighting on Fort T'Pring, right? Which is a callback to the famous Star Trek episode where he has to fight Kirk, and in his nightmare he's fighting himself. It's his human side versus his Vulcan side, but the music that's scoring the background is the same music that they used when he fought Kirk, which I thought was just that was a nice touch. Yeah.
Another show that I'm really digging, I think I mentioned before that our number one fan, my sister Amanda, and I try to watch a show together. Started during the pandemic, where we just, you know, put a little video phone up next to each other and watch the same show at the same time. And we've seen a lot of stuff, but right now we are watching Dollface, which is also a Hulu show that didn't get a lot of attention and sadly only has 2 seasons. We just sort of just, you know, okay, well, let's just try Dollface, let's see. And it's an absolute delight. And I think it's too bad that it didn't get more attention, especially as a genre. I haven't really seen a lot of, you know, it's a group of girlfriends. How are we as mostly single women and friends who are in their, you know, the very end of their 20s and coming into their 30s. And, you know, the last time I feel like that existed was Sex in the City. And that is not this. This is much more, it's super fun, and it's got a lot of fantasy elements. You know, our main character, who's Kat Dennings, who I really enjoy as an actor. She's the main character who's she's been broken up with out of the blue in her long-term relationship, which means she has forsaken all of her friendships, and, you know, rediscovering how to be a friend and in your friend group, and especially in this bond. It's really good. It's different, and it's sharp, and it's funny, and yeah, the fantasy elements just really take it to a whole nother level. I mean, they do a riff on the yellow brick road during the Women's March. Like, it is very grounded in the reality for these people at the moment in time they are in.
Mm-hmm.
And then throws on a level of fun and pop culture reference that makes it something special. And I highly recommend it. And I wish I had had that show when I was in my late 20s, because I would have just been all about it. And I'm sad it didn't get more attention at the time.
I want to just really quickly piggyback on your talk about Strange New Worlds. and I've been meaning to watch Dollface as well. But I wanted to call out in a very positive way the third season of the Orville. They are. It's amazing to watch how Seth MacFarlane has matured as a storyteller, especially when it comes to the question of trans identities. And there have been 2 episodes this year that very directly and explicitly deal with the trans character they set up, and it's been done so well. And he's had like 4 other episodes, or they've had like 4 other episodes that have explored different parts of that world and have done it so well. And it is in the spirit of Star Trek. I am not a Star Trek person, but I prefer Star Trek to Star Wars. And so having something like the Orville around where I can jump into it from the beginning, it's been really gratifying.
Breaking news: Carlos Santana just hit the walk-off in the bottom of the 9th. Mariners win.
Yeah.
Carlos Santana, by the way, clutch hitter. Like,
Big
he's won us a few
pickup.
games.
Yeah.
Guitar
That's
player.
great. They walked the bases low. They intentionally walked both Julio and France to face Santana.
That doesn't make sense to me.
They should have pitched to France. Like, you got the double at second with Julio. Like,
yeah. Oh, all right.
Great.
I'd just like to throw out a little bit on Chris Carson retired.
Oh, I know. Super sad. I think we all knew where that was headed.
Yeah.
You know, like Pete's last press conference, Pete, who is normally the most positive guy and will tend toward the most positive news, like gave one of those, we'll see. And when Pete gives something like that, you know, it's bad.
Yeah. When positive Pete isn't sounding too positive, it's not good news generally.
I mean, I think that, you know, Ken Walker was that draft was kind of, you know, the harbinger of that. But
I'll just
Chris
say
Carson gave everything he could to the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Chris Carson has battled his whole life. He has a really great story just in his upbringing and how he fought and how he competed and you know, getting to the NFL and becoming a starting running back. You know, Chris Carson, if he didn't have the injury bug, would be talked about as, you know, one of the 10 best running backs of his generation. He ran hard and he never complained. He was a wrecking ball and he's going to be missed.
I'm always gonna remember the leaps that he would do over linebackers and safeties and shit. Like that shit was amazing to watch, and just like shoulder forward and just like hurtling over dudes.
Yeah.
Throwing his body everywhere. Like I mean, there's been a lot of big personalities on that team over the last 10 years. I feel like you know, his era is probably going to get lost a little bit, but I said it today on Facebook. I think that when he was healthy and going, he was one of the best running backs I've ever seen.
Agreed.
You know, I mean, just his way of like, I mean, just how fast and physical and he could catch out of the backfield. He was really good. I'm sorry to see his career cut off short like that, but I'm glad he's not playing anymore, because neck injuries are just not anything to mess with in any kind of sport, especially a car collision sport like football.
In a car collision position like running back.
Yeah, I want to just say that the Seahawks did the right thing by releasing him, because it allows him to collect millions of dollars in injury benefits. And the Seahawks really did they didn't have to go that route because it means that it impacts their salary cap to a certain extent. But they did because they respect him as a man and a player.
Yeah, and he gave everything he could to that team. I mean, he always, game after game, left it out on the field. Yeah. So
I'm sorry, Dan, I don't think you've given us your dorking, have you?
my dorking, I've dorked a lot about what you've dorked at. I agree with a lot of my favorite TV show of the year so far is The Bear. I also have a background of working in kitchens. I did that for that was my career before I was a banker. I recommend this TV show to everybody, but everybody who's worked in a kitchen, I was actually talking to my mother about this weekend, and I was like, you should watch this show. It's a really great show, Mom. But I was like, with the caveat that, like, pause it when it gets triggering, because it's gonna trigger you. Like, if you've worked in a kitchen, there's one episode in particular where everything that can go wrong does go wrong.
It's one of the best filmed episodes of any television I've ever seen.
It's fantastic, and I had to pause it at least twice. Where I was having, like, I was just put back in. I've had those days, and I was just having my own panic attack. Like, I was like, I've had nightmares. I've had literal anxiety nightmares about this. But it's really fantastic. Strange New Worlds is another one that I've been really enjoying, as well as What We Do in the Shadows. For some reason I missed, I think like their third season came out last October and I just missed it. So I binged through that in preparation for the fourth one. It's so good. It's so stupid and I love it. I think all of those actors are just absolutely
wonderful.
Phenomenal.
It gets nominated for best comedy, but none of the actors get any love. It's weird.
I don't understand that. Yeah. By the way, I just want to call out Donald Logue's cameo in season 3 right at the end as like a blowhard washed up actor who played a vampire once and now he likes the lifestyle.
Oh yeah.
I think that's great. What else am I dorking about? This is something I wanted to talk about on dorking. I have been following a YouTube sketch comedy group out of New Zealand called Viva La Dirt, and it's these 3 guys, actors who all met each other through their projects, and they're all gaming dorks. And that's what they have in common. And they started making their own content because they're actors who are out of work. And what else are you going to do? And they just started doing skits with themselves and an iPhone. And they started this about 10 years ago and have slowly grown $4 million or 4 million person channel on YouTube.
Wow.
They like enough that a couple of years ago they were able to quit their day jobs and focus purely on the content that they were creating. They create content about like video game logic, kind of like if Skyrim was in real life, kind of a thing. They're hysterical. They're very funny, and the way they've blown up, I think, is really great. They had a Kickstarter campaign just recently where they were raising money to build their own studio with their own like sound system and sets and stuff like that. And they raised $2 million for that. And I'm just really excited to see where that's going to go. It's fun watching, like being on the ground floor of something like that and then watching just this amazing success and I'm just of everything they do. So if you're on YouTube, check out Viva La Dirt. They're just really, really, really funny. Each skit is about 5 minutes long, and they release about 3 a week, which is insanely prolific. So yeah, good job, guys. You're not listening to this, but I love you.
I'm really looking forward to seeing you dorks tomorrow.
Me too.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
It's going to be great. We're going to sweep the Rangers. It's going to feel good.
My kid's going to be there randomly, and I won't be allowed to see her because I'm considered a stranger.
Oh, wow.
I confirmed that today. Like she said that that's probably what would happen, and I went in and asked, and they were like, "Yeah, we can't. You can't really come near us." I was like, "Okay," and I won't be able to take her home with me, so we're both gonna leave at the same time. And I'm like, "Bye. I hope you enjoyed the game."
Them's the rules.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna. Julio's coming back right at the right time.
Yep.
I was afraid I was gonna miss him.
2 in a row.
right.
We started another streak.
That's
I'm
right.
into it. Yeah, here we go. In fact, I think we have sole possession of the second wild card spot because I think Toronto lost.
Really?
Yeah. All right. Hey, that was fun. If you're listening, go check out Curtis's blog, 12life.com. He's going to be writing a lot in it now that Seahawks are starting summer camp.
Yeah.
Maybe Jimmy Garoppolo's coming to Seattle. I don't know.
We'll see. I wrote a piece recently expressing my devotion to Drew Lock. I'm gonna root for Drew Lock.
Oh, I like it. I'm rooting for Drew.
He's gonna be my underdog story this year. I want him to surprise everybody and
Me too.
prove all the haters wrong.
Let's do it. Drew Lock.
But if they can get Jimmy Garoppolo, I'd be good with that too. Or Ryan Tannehill.
All right. Hey, if you like us, follow us. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. You should hit that follow button on YouTube as well. We have the live version where you can watch our pretty faces. Once again, my name is Daniel. For Alana, Curtis, Millie, the rest of the 12s, saying goodbye and go Hawks.
Let's ride.
Go Hawks.
That's right.
That's right.
Go Hawks.